Greetings, my name is Rudimentary Rob. Welcome back to my Astroneer series. Today we are going to continue our explorations and all of that awesome and exciting stuff in Astroneer. Now, we do actually get some very nice things happening this episode, so pay some special attention. Put on your special occasion moon boots and let's get this show on the road. Now, the buggy, that's going to be a handy thing to have at some point, but for now we're just going to put that one on the back burner. We will actually need to make a seat for it anyway. But this strange object is very strange. Now, we're not going to do what I did with it the very first time I ever got one of these things. I had absolutely no clue, and I ended up setting it up about half a mile from my base because I didn't even know what it was. I was worried it was going to explode or something. So I've learnt my lesson now, and I'm going to try and get this as close as I can to our base just to save us a lot of extra effort. And as you can see, it gets a bit of a different glow to it when it's in an area where you can build it. Now, it is like your little hab unit when you first arrive. It creates its own bit of flat ground, so don't worry if you're somewhere that's less than ideal in terms of flat ground. This thing will just create some for you. Now, there is an absolute mountain of missions that come out of this little science type workstation type thing. And yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything, but this was the thing. I had a little, it's going to be months ago now. I introduced Oladino to Astroneer, and for a couple of hours, I was trying to remember how to unlock this, and I'd completely forgotten that I had to go underground to get spherolite and smelt it to zinc before it would give me that mission reward. So, yeah, apologies for that. Very belated apologies for that, Oladino, but this is the thing that I was working so hard to try and unlock. Now, over the next couple of episodes, you're going to get to experience why that thing is so interesting. It's a bit of a slow starter, though, so just bear with me while I collect my thoughts and get the couple of things I need together to do the first bit. Now, the first bit is we've got to link it to the power grid. And this is where I'm just going to use this medium platform. It's not really doing anything, and it's got plugs and sockets on it, so we're just going to use it as an extension lead. And between that and a few other items I've got lying around, we're going to get our base power extended over to this lovely new piece of kit. Alright, now we've got this all hooked up to our power grid. You can see it's charging up there. Don't worry, it's not going to, explode or anything. Yeah, I've had a bit of experience with this one in a previous save game, so we're all safe. And what a lovely and melodious tune that is. Well, we do have to remember that this came from something that was called strain. So, on that basis, we probably shouldn't be expecting anything particularly normal or standard, or one might even say rudimentary. Now, for that particular mission, I just had to put an oxygenator over on that particular item. Yeah, didn't see much point in trying to make a new one because the quest is just, or the mission is just to fit one to it, and we can take the one we have off the hab unit, plug it in over there, and it's not going to change anything because all of it's connected, which means all my tether lines are still getting oxygen from the oxygenator. So we're all good on that one, and now that we've finished that mission, we can move it back to our hab unit at any time we want to. But for the moment, I'm happy enough to leave it there. That's an interesting name for a mission. Know thy galastropod. Wonder what those things are. Anyway, we're having a look through. As you can see from the physical appearance, this thing has definitely been through the wars. So some of the entries are looking a bit corrupt. There's a lot to read there. I'm not even going to try and slow that down enough that you can have a chance to read it all. If you want to give it a bash, just, pause the video and have at it. But a lot of it is just to do with research conducted by the former owner of this research unit into galastropods. And yeah, it's there's some quirky little aspects to it, and we will be exploring those as we unlock more and more missions. Alright, so we're off on our first little mission. We've got to go and scan a few of these galastropod shells, and you usually find them most prevalent in these foresty areas. So we're just going to head over to this forest and see if we can find enough of these shells to satisfy this particular mission. Now, in the previous mission, I made mention of us getting a work light. There you go. And you can see how much brighter it is in my immediate vicinity. So I'm hoping that's going to make it a little bit easier on the eyes when I go into the caves. Don't worry, it's not something I'm ever going to leave behind. Well, unless, of course, I die and I don't have a spare one I can bring with me. But it just makes cave exploration so much easier. All right, we've got our G Sylvia shell scanning going on. We've found one there. We need to find a few more. That's just a little science sample that I'm going to take back to base eventually. In the meantime, because it's a magpies game, there is always other things out there to distract you, and distract you they will. Yeah, that's not a particularly difficult mission, that one. If you've got a forest area nearby, you can usually find the required number of shells within a fairly small area. Having now scanned those shells, we're going to go back and see what our next steps are going to be. Pretty. Yeah, I can't really remember exactly what these, fractally things end up doing in the game. I don't think I've ever actually followed them through to whatever logical conclusion there might be, but I'm sure we are going to uncover a lot more of them in due course, and if there's meant to be a mission for them, I'm sure we will come across that. Any of the music that you're hearing in the video is actually from the game. And the atmospheric music in this game is just another fantastic thing about the game. I don't add any music to any of my videos, so if you ever hear any, it'll be from whatever the game is that I'm playing. So, yeah. Alright, time for a little bit of Astronomy 101. The plane in which a planet or planets orbit the host star is usually referred to as the ecliptic. Astroneer has one. Most of the planets are actually in the same plane. I think the moon might be a little bit offset slightly, but for the most part, it'll all go through roughly the same point in the sky every day. And so through the location of the ecliptic, so essentially, is it sort of leaning down towards the horizon in one particular direction, or is it directly overhead, can tell you what your relative position is north to south on the planet. Now, this is all of the planets in Astronomy are planets, like they are fully spherical. You can run the entire circumference in whatever direction you want to run it in. Obviously, terrain obstructions notwithstanding, the physicality of it is fantastic. But the ability to know roughly where you are on the planet north to south, so more importantly, are you around about on the equator? Because there's a thing, and you may have noticed the beam of light in the distance. It is obstructed by the cloud a little bit, but they're placed around the planet in a reasonably predictable pattern. Like, their individual locations will move around a little bit from planet to planet, but essentially they follow the same pattern. There's going to be a few of them placed around the equator, and then there's usually one very close to the North Pole and one very close to the South Pole. So being able to look up at the sky and just getting a rough idea north to south of where you are, and then trying to adjust your position. So if you're looking for the equator, then you can run north or run south relative to the ecliptic until the ecliptic is directly overhead. So all of the planets, like you can see one rising there in the distance. So if they're all going basically directly overhead, then you know you're on the equator, and it's going to help you locate these special locations, which we're going to be going to very shortly. It's going to help you locate them far more easily. And then in the case of the north and the south, you're just going to be going to the extreme north so that the ecliptic gets as low as it can be in the sky, and rinse repeat for going due south. Now you can see the edge of something very big and very interestingly shaped. That is our next destination. Now they are, well, I'll tell you what they're called. They are a gateway. And I'll let you have a bit of a think about what that might actually mean. And anyone who wants to take a guess, make note of the timestamp and put a little comment down below of what you think these gateways are for. And anyone who already knows, no spoilers, let them have a bit of a guess at this one. Alright, well, we found ourselves another resource while I'm here. This is called graphite. It is immensely useful as our tech tree moves forward. Only incidentally useful at the moment, but in the later, more advanced tech, yeah, you need, tons of it, basically. So it doesn't hurt to mine a bit from time to time. You will use it. Now, we've got we've got ourselves a little distracted here. We ran outside our tether, but we're going to go back and get that re-established. Now, our bounce vines, we're just going to get rid of those so we don't accidentally get punted into that little ditch. And by that little ditch, I mean gigantic gaping chasm, which if you fell down there, I think the fall damage, if it didn't kill you, it would get like super close. And getting back out of those things is a gigantic pain in the behind. So we're going to do our best to not fall in there. And you might be wondering why I'm making this bridge a bit wider than what I actually need. Well, have you been, watching my videos? I'm, legendarily clumsy sometimes. But also, because we're on the surface, it may be inevitable that I'll be driving a buggy this way, and if I've already got the bridge wide enough for the buggy, it saves me having to stop and mess around later. So, yeah, that's probably the main reason. But, yeah, me being a clumsy old fool is definitely part of the equation, to be sure. Alright, any inspired guesses yet about what this gateway might be? Well, a bit of magpies, kicked in again because I saw this debris and I thought, ooh, shiny. And then, of course, you find one bit of debris, you find another bit of debris. So I think the distractions are going to buy you a little bit more time with your, speculations on what that gateway might actually be. Now, sad to say, but unlike other survival type games that have, skills and other things to increase the size of your backpack, yeah, Astroneer is not one of those games. So that backpack you're looking at all bright and shiny that you start with, yep, it doesn't change. So your storage needs and your expanding, needs as you get out there and explore each of the planets, you're going to be utilizing other types of storage to meet those needs. And we'll certainly cover our fair share of that in due course. Now, this gateway is a bit like those research containers that required power to unlock them. So, in this case, we're not sort of unlocking per se, we're charging it up, so to speak. It's you might say it's got a bit of a flat battery, and it needs a bit of a jump start. Now, I can't, I'm deliberately staying away from wikis as much as I can. And I do remember the power requirement for this is not particularly steep, which is why I'm trying to do it a little bit dodgy with the small generators. But the problem is I can't remember exactly how many units of power it actually needs. So I'm reasonably sure it's going to be either the same as what I'm providing generators for at the moment, or it might be less than what I'm putting down. But either way, I'm making sure that we're not going to be disappointed with our effort. Now, because we're using these little generators, we are going to need quite a bit of greenery to power them. Now, this particular type of power-up, it's not like the one I showed you before where you can just trickle charge the battery kind of thing. No, this one is you need to deliver a guaranteed amount of power for a period of time. And I can't remember how long that period of time is exactly, because I don't think I've ever bothered trying to charge one of these things up from these small generators. And so I've gathered a whole bunch of greenery thinking that I may need to reload these generators as part of this process. You're going to have to wait and see how that actually works out. But essentially, to unlock these gateways, you get yourself the required amount of power delivery, or potentially a bit more than that if you need to. And you plug it in and you just let rip. And then you wait and see what happens. Now, after loading up the greenery on the turned off generators, this is where I was thinking, yeah, I think I'm going to need a bit more greenery to just in case it runs out. Because if you don't deliver the required power level long enough, the whole process resets. And I don't really want to spend half the day sitting here gathering organic over and over and over again. So I'm going to give this a go, and I'm going to give it my best effort to make sure it works first go. So, am I a bit on the overkill side? Yeah, minor spoiler, I am. Just a bit. Okay, last chance to guess what this gateway thing is there for. We're kind of counting down on it. Is it here to make me a coffee in the morning? No. Is it a fancy kind of alarm clock? No. Maybe it's a wireless phone charger. Could be. But it actually isn't. What it is it's a teleporter. Now, when we click on this little odd stone, which is very odd, we can see that there are, dim nodes and our origin node, because we've only woken one of these things up. And so the only one that's powered up is this one, and, there's no point teleporting here because, surprise, surprise, we're already here. But you may have noticed that there is a few of them scattered around, and a few of them are listed as being on the equator, and one is listed north and one is listed south, and that's what I was describing earlier. So at some point we will go around and unlock all of those ones on the surface, but you would have also noticed that there was a one of these things in the core of the planet. So it's in the very middle of the planet. So at some point we are going to have a bit of a journey to the center of the planet kind of expedition. But we're not quite there yet to be able to do that. We're going to want some extra support mechanisms before we go down. Because it's... yeah, it can get a bit disastrous if you're just trying to do it on foot. So the journey to the center is something we're going to save for another day. In the meantime, we've reached the end of this episode. I want to thank you for watching. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and to subscribe. And until next time, my name is Rudimentary Rob. Have yourself an absolutely fantastic day.